Hi there, Sandra here from Create in Spain. Today I'm doing an LED card with a shaker window. Now before you panic, it isn't really that difficult as long as you follow the process step by step. The circuit itself is very simple. If you've already got copper tape and a light bulb, then you're pretty much set to go. Now this particular card, you'll notice the base has got this little hole in the back. This is because, for my purposes, just for me, I want to be able to remove the battery. I'm doing it this way because I make cards, I store them, I do demonstrations. I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money on batteries for cards that I'm not using. So I can take the battery out and use it in the next card that I'm demoing, okay? That's fine. However, if you don't want to be able to remove the battery, you can just mark circle here to mark where your battery is going. Don't worry about cutting the hole. So when it comes to doing a circuit, you need a battery, a light bulb. This one is one that I've filed down from a LED string of rather large, bulky LEDs. And you want to test your battery and your connections basically by just putting it either side of the battery, just to make sure that it will light up if it's working correctly, and it does. So the first thing we want to do is the negative side, the side that goes underneath. Generally when you put a battery in a card, you put it with the positive side marked with cross upwards. So this would be the negative because that would touch the back of the battery, which is the negative side. This is the textured side in general. So I'm just going to get some of my copper tape. Now I don't like to use it directly off the roll. I tend to tear strips off. You can always use up your remnants. Just make sure you've got a nice copper tape that has a conductive adhesive on it. So it's going to go underneath. And I need to make it go somewhere there because that's where my light bulb's going to be. Now because I'm using one of these with legs on, it doesn't have to be absolutely totally accurate. I can position this by simply moving it around. If I was using one of my very tiny flat LEDs, I would need to make sure that it was very close to that because I would need to have both my positive and my negative pretty close together. In this instance, I'm using a more forgiving LED, as you probably would anyway. And so I don't have to be supremely accurate. And I'm just going to make my circuit so that it goes in the direction of, and I can tear that off. Now what I've done, instead of using lots of bits of foam tape, I have actually designed a foam pad. Now normally you would only need one of these, but my foam is pretty thin. And the reason I did this is because the foam tape I've got is even thinner and it's just a pain. I haven't got any slightly thicker foam tape at the moment. So this goes like so. And you want to do this preferably with a double-sided tape rather than a wet glue. For me, this is thicker than I want it to be, but that's just the way my foam was. You know, I didn't have quite the right thickness. Now that I've got that piece of foam in place, I need to do the other part of this circuit. Copper tape across one side, around the edge, and across the other side. This means that you get this little door that can be placed over here. It can go down the side of your foam, and then you can complete your circuit. So when this contacts this and the light is across both of these contacts, if I've got it around the right way, the light will light up. Yeah, there we go. So that is around the correct way. So just get a little bit more of the copper tape and stick my light bulb in place where I need it to be, and it lights up. If I hadn't put this second layer of foam over, it would contact all the time and stay lit up, which of course is not what you want when you're going to put something through the post. If you're concerned about the fragility of this, you can put some normal sticking tape over the top of it just to give it a bit of extra strength. so that it's not as likely to crack. So the circuit part is done, but you don't want to see all this lot here when you have a window in the front of your card. See, you definitely don't want to see that, do you? So what I've done is created a blank, and that is literally going to fit over there and just be stuck down over the top. Now this is where the rest of these pieces come in, because these other two pieces simply slot over the top, like that. And then you have a really nice, neat inside. Stick it all together. So here I've put both my layers of foam on, so you have quite a nice, neat little package here. And I've just put some double-sided tape around the outside of here. And I've got some stars, which are, again, rather pretty. They're silver ones. I've gone for a dark background on here because that means everything that I put in, if it's pale, it shows up quite nicely. I'll put my acetate over the top of this. There we go. It's got a little bit of a sort of mountain in the centre because my bulb is quite bulky, but definitely got a nice shaker element to that. You want to think about the effect that you want. If I do that and I press on here and it lights up, you may not be able to see it in this light, but the light kind of shines through that particular cat, and it kind of makes it look semi-transparent. And if you don't want that effect, if you want the light to go around your object, then back this type of thing with a piece of black card, and then the light would appear to halo around it rather than go through it. So here is my finished card. I've added some decorative elements to it. These are tucked in behind the window. I've added a press here sentiment and just given it basic decoration, and it has a very nice fluffy wool side to it. I wasn't planning on doing that, I will be perfectly honest. I've done it because I messed up, and even if you mess up, sometimes you can rescue it. I happen to think this looks rather cute. What happened was I managed to mess up the layering of the front panel. It wasn't quite squared up, and I tried to adjust it by putting the whole thing underneath my rather large guillotine. It didn't quite work as I wanted it to. It kind of wrinkled the sides. So in order to cover it up somewhat, I put some very narrow tape around the foam here, double-sided tape, and I stuck the wool on. And I think if I hadn't told you, I'd have probably got away with that. So the other thing that I did, the battery compartment was a little bit big, so I actually fixed that. The couple of circles which were cut out of my foam, I cut rings out of those and stacked them up so it's now the right size, and I can put my battery in and it stays where it's supposed to be. And in the file I will adjust it so it'll be fine first off. It's an easel card, so you write your sentiment on the back here, and this is how it stands up. And as long as you use a nice heavy-duty card, there isn't a problem. This cuts down a little bit of the weight, saves you a little bit of card, considering the rest of it takes a reasonable amount of product. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon for my next venture. Take care now.